The Sony NEX-5T was released in August of 2023 and was Sony's final NEX camera release. I've reviewed 9 NEX cameras in the last year, and this camera wraps up my series of dedicated reviews for the NEX lineup. Now, this camera is a weird one for me because it's basically not really a new camera at all. It's actually the exact same camera as what I have right here, the Sony NEX-5R, but it's different in one particular way, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Starting off with some of the good things I like about the 5T, first is the price point. In 2024, I picked this up for $98 plus $5 shipping from South Korea. So this was about $103 total. And my seller that I purchased from was Korean Camera Bro. I've actually purchased a couple of NEX cameras from this seller, and he's delivered on his promise to ship me the camera, and they were all arrived in great shape. So I trust this seller. You get a 16.1 megapixel sensor, which is the same sensor as the Sony NEX-5N and 5R. This is a pretty high quality sensor. I really like the photo performance out of these NEX-5 sensors. Besides the original NEX-5, that one's not my favorite, but the 5N, the 5R, and the 5T all share an updated sensor that's improved for autofocus performance and image quality. You get full manual video control, which is just so valuable for me as a video shooter primarily. I do like taking photos as well, but I love the fact that I can shoot in manual video control. I need the ability to do that because the sensor isn't the greatest sensor out there, so I need the ability to dial in my ISO, my shutter speed, and my aperture to get the optimal amount of light coming in and hitting that image sensor. This camera is still shooting in the AVC HD codec, which is a very much an older codec, but it still looks pretty solid for video results at both 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second. So you can slow down that 60p footage to get some slow-mo stuff for B-roll capture, etc. You get some serious body improvements over the NEX-5 and the NEX-5N, the same body improvements we see in the NEX-5R. So we get a dedicated thumb dial on the back of the camera to adjust shutter speed, but you can also map that to aperture if you would prefer. You get a dedicated ISO button on the back of the camera, which is great. We want to quickly be able to change our ISO, whether taking photos or video. You also get a function button on top of the camera, which is great. I love having a dedicated function button to map different functions to. And you also get a high quality flip up screen that also tilts down. So this is great for vlogging or taking selfies and shooting in just different types of environments where you need that screen to change positions. Since this camera has the same sensor as the NEX-5R, this is kind of a modified sensor that has pixels dedicated to performing phase detection, which just provides kind of a hybrid autofocus system. In practice, all this means is you're getting a little bit better autofocus performance out of the 5R or the 5T than you would the 5N or the original 5 or some of the other NEX cameras like the C3, 3N, etc. This just has a little bit better autofocus performance, but it still is not incredible. It's just fine. So in almost every single way, all of the benefits that the Sony NEX-5R has, the 5T also has, but there's one addition we'll talk about in just a sec. Real quick, I wanted to shout out UGREEN, which is the sponsor of this video. UGREEN is launching a series of NASync affordable network attached storage solutions on Kickstarter. By the time you're watching this video, there's a chance that their Kickstarter is already live, or maybe they're pretty far into their Kickstarter campaign, or maybe they even already have some inventory in stock that you can purchase online. Whatever the case, I think this is a great product that you should check out. I use their DXP 4800 Plus to store all of my YouTube content and manage all of my files in a secure location. I've set up the NAS to be in a RAID 5 configuration, which just simply means that if one of these hard drives fails in my server, the data is distributed in a way where I won't lose anything. This is really helpful to have peace of mind knowing that if I have active projects that I'm working on, there's built-in redundancy and backups knowing that I can go to bed at night not worrying about if my data is safe or not. If you're interested in the UGREEN NASync, check out the link in the description and you can pay a $5 deposit right now on Kickstarter to secure 40% off retail price. Thanks again to UGREEN for sponsoring this video. Now, here are the things I don't love about the NEX-5T, and the main reason is there's one piece of technology in here that is different than the NEX-5R, and this is NFC technology, which stands for near field communication. If you scavenge YouTube, you can still find the product announcement from Sony, which is, first of all, just a hilarious video. It's shot so weirdly. I just can't believe what the marketing teams were doing back in the late 2010s. It's just ridiculous content. But anyways, the main feature that they highlighted was this NFC technology, which all it means is you can send files from your NEX-5T to certain Android devices more seamlessly. What they were trying to do is compete with the smart smartphone market here and say that, hey, you can grab an NEX-5T and it can be a more like an APS-C high quality image sensor. Use that and it can seamlessly transfer data to your smartphone really quickly. This way you don't have to use your crappy smartphone camera. It was right around this time though that smartphone cameras were just getting better, so people didn't really care about purchasing something like the NEX-5T specifically so that it could transfer content to their phone so quickly. I know they were worried about people wanting to post photos to Instagram and Facebook, and they wanted their camera, the 5T, to be the piece of technology that was uploading content to these platforms. Overall, I think it was just a silly release to release such a marginal upgrade over the NEX-5R. These are the exact same camera in every regard, except for the fact that the 5T has that NFC technology, which is just outdated and I would never use in 2024 or beyond. Like the 5R, the build quality just feels a little bit cheaper. It feels all plastic, like this thing couldn't withstand very many falls. So if you pick this up in 2024, just be aware of that. Also, the low light performance is not very great. Anything above 3200 ISO in lower light situations does not look glamorous. The noise in the shadows just is very apparent, so I wouldn't push it past 3200. The menu system is the older NEX menu system we see in all of the NEX cameras. I don't love this menu system. I've talked about it plenty on this channel before. It's not great, but it does get the job done. And you also have no log or professional picture profiles of any kind. You do have creative styles, which is kind of cool. If you've seen this channel before, you might know that I recommend putting this camera into the portrait mode setting and setting your contrast to -3 and your sharpening to -1. I find that this produces the best results for video and it doesn't affect raw files when you do this. So my overall recommendation with the NEX-5T is that it's exactly the same camera as the NEX-5R. Because of the NFC technology though, this camera tends to be a little bit more expensive. I'd say anywhere from 10 to 25% more on the used camera market. So at that rate, it's not really worth it to me. I don't want to pay a premium for a technology that I'm not even going to use. So I tend to recommend the NEX-5R for people if they're wanting to get something out of the NEX-5 lineup this year. I'd recommend the 5R. The 5T is fine and it's going to get all the same functionality of the 5R, but it usually is a little bit more expensive. So just keep that in mind. Both of these are really fun cameras to use in 2024 for photography or making basic social media content and 1080p video. Thanks so much for taking time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. You can check out some more videos on this channel right here. Thanks so much. Much love.